Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm Keeper Skep, and with me I have Minions Jenna,
Hi.
Mr. Adam,
Hello.
Prospero,
Hello.
and the Harry channel.
Good evening.
I hope you're all having a wonderful evening this evening. Jenna, how was your day?
We sat on Santa's lap today.
We is how many?
Oh, they all had to do it.
At the same time or individually?
They went individual. Well, the littler ones went individually and, or 2 by 2. And then all of them sat around Santa so I could have mine.
How many children did you take to Santa Claus today?
Everyone.
How many is that total, if you don't mind my asking? It's okay if you don't want to say.
I'll tell you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Cool.
But
I know it's I'm surprised Santa didn't have a nervous breakdown, frankly.
Well, that's why we sat around them and some on the floor.
Took a picture and all that?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yay.
I get one every year except 2020.
Adam, what are you up to, man? We talking. You and I hadn't talked in a month of Sundays.
Huh?
What? I myself am looking forward to sitting on Santa's lap. But we only got a week, so I'm gonna have to schedule that.
Is that what you call it?
Hey. But no, it's just been it's been crazy kind of weather out here in Chicagoland area, kind of warm. But I mean, honestly, I've just been working, trying to get by, standing the line, holding the line right there, joining chats when I can, when I'm able and offered. So it's always a blessing chat with y'all. But I look forward to having a fun discussion.
You're always welcome here. I mean, there'll be a restraining order if that ever changes. But
I'll try and keep my P's and Q's in my shoes.
God.
Prospero, I'm not going to ask for a lot of talk from you tonight, but how are you doing on?
I am much improved, thank you, and optimistic for a change regarding the house. I will know more tomorrow as to whether we are on schedule for the first thing that is supposed to have been done.
Yay!
They're supposed to pour the footers tomorrow.
Well, we'll keep our. I guess we should cross our toes since they're doing footers.
Yes, I would.
But I'll keep our toes crossed for you and hope that comes off without a hitch.
Yeah, and it would be nice.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, what am I going to do with all this stuff in this house?
I know. That's the perils of
the crunch
living
time.
in a place for a long time. You just accumulate so much stuff.
Hey, the attic is empty.
Hooray.
The big attic is empty.
Surprised it doesn't fly away.
That's huge.
Yeah, I mean that was huge.
Huge.
And the stuff from the attic that I need to go through did not fill up the entire garage. So that's nice.
Hooray.
Yeah,
Harry,
I mean, I got an interesting life.
How's your day, Harry?
Oh, busy. Lots of work. That's good, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's started at, 7-ish a.m. and ended about, 45 minutes before the show.
I just, there are things that I miss about the industry, and among them are working with people like you. And I knew a few people. I didn't know many as good as you are, is people who are as just stone competent as you are, and just thoroughly versed in all the stuff, and had and also had that ability to just rationally take a problem apart and say, okay, what are the important parts? What do I need to do first? I just I love hearing your war stories. It's kind of fun for me to hear about your work and not have any responsibility, because I'm used to feeling a physical clutch of not panic, but concern about a million moving parts when I think about that kind of thing. And it's fun to hear your war stories and have no responsibilities. Nobody cares what I do.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. I came up with a procedure and I sent Skep and Prospero a copy of it before the show, because I know that my pain and suffering amuses Skep, so
But
so I like to send that.
I don't like to see you suffer, but I
mean, it's not really pain
watching
and
you
suffering.
work.
I do.
I truly enjoy watching you work.
I don't mind hard work, and besides, if I come up with
for-
something novel, I know you'll
Sure.
you'll enjoy it. I don't want to let you off the hook too easily with retirement.
Here,
And Prospero
Adam and
puts
I
up with
just
it.
feel left out.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. A lot of it I report to Cree, and there are times he looks at it and he goes, "Oh shit, oh god, oh no," and just walks away. And it's just because there have been some things that you've sent that he's looked at, squinted at, and said, "Oh my god," and just gotten up and walked off. It's flashbacks.
Oh, I know. It's very
Well,
triggering.
actually, I mean, he didn't do the kind of things that you did, but just seeing some of the
Programming is programming.
yeah, and it's
You run into the same sorts of things.
and flusterclucks are flusterclucks.
Oh boy.
I think I sent you a few database triggers that hopefully you showed Cree. So there's some overlap. I mean, we've done some of the same things, but most of the time, not really, which is good, because that means we can talk about stuff and it never ends up becoming a competition to see who has the greatest war story. Because we have different war stories, completely different war stories.
Yeah. That is always the entertaining thing about anybody who, you can wear yourself out telling things that people are all too familiar with.
Yeah. No, you can. Things were fun back in the day. I still remember 36-hour Informix database roll forwards where.
Oh yeah. Informix. Oh my God. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Harry, I was
Giant conversions I did in Informix. Oh my God.
What were you going to say, Jenna?
I have a strange request for you. You know that Snoopy ice skating thingy you had last year?
Mm-hmm.
Can you put that on the screen?
If I can find it, sure, I'll do that while everybody's talking.
Well, okay.
And I'll even send you a copy. Don't worry about it.
Excellent.
I don't want a copy.
Yeah.
I'm taking baby steps.
Have you ever taken the time to actually listen to the soundtrack to Vince Guaraldi's soundtrack that they used for the Peanuts cartoon? Because I know there's an interest in music here in this group.
Yes.
Because I know we're going to talk about it later. But the beautiful segue is that Jenna, I totally encourage you to listen to that whole thing. I don't know if you're a jazz fan or not, but it's like really accessible jazz.
I love jazz.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to some stuff to listen to. I think you'll like it.
That Christmas album is like the essential tree decorating album in our house.
Well, he was so damn talented.
Prospero, I love that album.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. I'm amazed that the CD still plays. It's been played that many times. I know they don't wear out the same way. It's a joke, y'all.
CDs. All I have to do is wake up.
You can pull it off the CD.
No.
Yeah.
All I have to do is wake up and the song is playing in the back of my head. Christmas time is here.
Yeah, but it's like the whole skating song. The minute I start thinking of it, I'm like da 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 da. I mean, it. I've heard it so many times that it's just it's I think it's part of my DNA now. But I absolutely adore it. It's one of the best soundtracks to any half-hour program ever.
Yeah. Well, he's not a one trick pony either, or one hit
no,
wonder.
No.
He was a big institution in San Francisco. So I don't know if there's a connection here, but he was really big in the San Francisco area and north. And Charles Schultz harkens from that area as well. I don't know if Charles Schultz lived there when he put that together, but they both sort of coexisted in the same kind of scene, that kind of San Francisco art scene.
Yeah.
And Vince Guaraldi did some great kind of Latin stuff, but it's not like
Cast Your Fate to the Wind. I knew that song before I knew the Peanuts stuff.
So did I.
His Samba de Orpheus thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole Black Orpheus Samba de Orpheus is a great samba thing, but somber samba, and but his version of it is a little more upbeat. It's really very, very pretty. I used to occasionally, when people would play annoying music when I was trying to play pool on the jukebox and I had to be at war with them, the trick was finding things that I could listen to that they wouldn't hate.
Yes.
And I would put on Samba de Orpheus by Vince Guaraldi. It's on his little greatest hits album that almost every jukebox in the world seems to have. And so I would put that on, and people would go, wait a second, this sounds like that Peanuts Christmas thing. What's going on? They'd go, who played this? And they'd come over and start talking to me. And I probably have turned on, I don't know, dozens of people to Vince Guaraldi, because Peanuts musical is the gateway drug. Yes. But then there's all this other amazing stuff.
Yeah, and the quickest way to... Oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead, Adam.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead, Adam.
No, you say that.
Stop that. One of you figure it out and go.
Okay, Adam, go.
No. Why you?
A is for Adam. Go.
Well, I forgot what I was going to say.
God damn it.
I knew that was going to happen.
No, it wasn't going to happen.
All right. Well, at any rate, since Harry has provided the most excellent segue to the what I really wanted to talk about tonight, and I remember when Guaraldi died, my mother was just she said, I remember her saying she didn't know how old he was, but she knew he was young. And she said, I don't think he's 40 years old. He's a genius, and he just died suddenly. It was, she was absolutely combination of heartbroken and angry about it.
Yes, irritated.
It was like my mom went through life.
We weren't done with you, Vince.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was just such a loss. But anyway, at any rate, it's somebody who I'm familiar with. I got to thinking about another musical death, and that was Michael Nesmet, who was really the most talented by far musically of the four monkeys, and the only one who, at the time they were recording their music, could really play any of it. I mean, that's the absolute truth. People always say, "What about Peter Tork?" Peter Tork learned his craft as a musician and became a musician after the Monkees. He was just a comedian then. He played some stuff, but just at a very, very low amateurish level, and he really brought his game up after the Monkees. But and at any rate, Nesmith died, and I got to thinking about his style of music and what amused us, what entertained us back in the late 60s, early 70s. And the music that was available, the musicality and so forth. And then I went and I looked up some lyrics of a more modern offering from one of our chanteuses. Her name is Cardi B. And, if you read her lyrics, okay, it doesn't, like Pleasant Valley Sunday, for example, is a little ditty about, how suburban living is destroying America, basically, how empty it is and so forth. And
it's like the upbeat version of Valley of the Dolls.
Right. But it's done to this happy little tune. It's got a beginning, middle, and an end. It's got a resolution. It's a nice little song. Then I come over to here and I see this: whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hole up. I said certified freak, 7 days a week. Wet ass pussy. Make that pull-out game weak. Woo-ah. Yeah. Yeah, you fucking with some wet-ass pussy. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass pussy. Give me everything you got for this wet-ass pussy. Beat it up inward. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this pussy right in yo face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top. I want to ride. I do a Kegel while it's inside. A Kegel exercise is a vaginal strengthening exercise, by the way.
Yeah.
And you
Spit in my mouth. Look at my
school
eyes.
teacher.
This pussy is wet. Come take a dive. At least there's an attempt at a rhyme there. Sort of. Inside and dive. Rhyme.
Yeah.
It's a little half rhyme.
Jerry Goffin and Carole King really missed the mark with Pleasant Valley Sunday, didn't they? I mean, there's so much more they could have done.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with this song, except that it's not terribly interesting and relies kind of on shock value of the obscenity of the lyrics and the explicitness of the lyrics. Mm-hmm. I mean, this thing goes on. It's one of the most lyric intensive songs on earth. It goes on for pages. I could amuse you, for hours, and it's filled with semi-literate, pseudo-intellectual references, like in the food chain, I'm the one that eat ya. If he ate my ass, he a bottom feeder. Big D stand for big demeanor, which is the most sophisticated word I have ever heard in a rap song. I could make ya bust before I ever meet ya.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, evidently, she's a sculptor. She can make a bust.
Yes.
Make a bust of you before she meets you. So she
regular Michelangelo, that one.
Yeah, clairvoyant Michelangelo. So anyway, my point in saying all this is, how did we get here? How did we get to where this replaced things like I was going through some of the big hits, like in 1965 was Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, Respect by Aretha Franklin, 67. That's the Way I Like It, if you want some funky stuff. And Funky Town in 1979. Eye of the Tiger, Thriller by Michael Jackson. Hammer Time with MC Hammer in 1990. There It Is in 1993. That was a great little song. Gangsta Paradise. I hated Wonderwall, but anyway. Tub Thumpin', that's my, guilty pleasure. And then it starts to get uninteresting around 2000 to me, at any rate. When the Justin Timberlake, Britney Spears, Kanye West, Eminem group come in, with the exception of a few Kanye West offerings, I just don't find Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears entertaining, not even slightly.
Oops, I did it again.
Now, I want to say I was late teens during this, so oh, I loved it. But now, if I hear a Justin Timberlake song, I just think 17-year-olds are stupid.
Well, just to set the stage for the discussion a little bit more. So when you look to the places you used to look to listen to, or in order to listen to music, when you go to those places, you go to the radio, or you think about music that you want to buy, think about the stuff that has been hyped by the record companies and so forth. You get a lot of the stuff like WAP. There, it really seems to have become so marketing focused, and so focused on putting out a certain product for which music is one of many elements that makes it sell. That you tend to think, well, music has gone down the tubes. We're just in one of those times when good music is not being made. Then you go to YouTube and you hear what some of the people who can play music are making, and there's some beautiful, amazing music being done by individuals. But you have to kind of hunt for it. You have to look for it. I don't know. Does anybody think any of this is interesting? Does anybody else even listen to music? Has anybody else even heard of music?
I gotta say, man, you've asked
Start there.
You've asked plenty of questions, and then as soon as somebody starts answering, you just start going off on something else.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to introduce. I was trying to introduce it.
I get what you're saying, but you lead off, and then you're
what
like,
do you think about this? What do you think about?
I don't know. What are you asking? you just fucking off on this. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, like, because I kind of get, like, yeah, there's this time frame, that
when you want new music, where do you go? How do you find it?
Well, that's a whole nother question, because that's at the end of the time frame where it's like, holy shit, now we've gone into this whole new avenue of how you can access new music, or different music, or old music, or somebody's independent music. But that's at the end timeline. But then you were asking before, like, what happened and where did it go, and you were talking about the history of it, and it's like, well, holy shit, you're talking about this, and then it turned into like, well, where did it change? And then we start going into this. They started building the Stargate, and then all of a sudden we got this time warp, and then son of a bitch, we're all of a sudden in this like quantum realm where anything is and everything is going, and we don't know what the fuck is the question, dude. I'm sorry. I know I tried to keep it. This is as mellow as you're gonna get out of Mr. Adam. But dude, just seriously. Okay, so I because I like the question, and I would really like to, I wanted to answer in a bunch of them, but like in terms of the last thing that you said, like where we're getting our music now, I will say this: I have no idea, because it comes from every Spotify, uh, uh, radio. I think is iHeartRadio even a thing anymore? Fucking, I'm sure Apple I has something going on, and then YouTube. There's so many places that you can get
Pandora,
Pandora. There's so many places you can find new music, and music that isn't anything that's pushed, so you can develop your own thing. Um, and I think that plays a big part in what's going on. But you know what? That's here's my tinfoil hat. That's why it's like, it's kind of weird where you're sitting there watching all these people come out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're really big. It's like, well, how? How are people finding these people? But again, that's beyond my realm, dude.
Well, it's like there's music that you can consume via Pandora, Spotify, all the things you were saying, Adam.
Yeah.
And then there's the music that the marketing people seem to want you to consume, and that's the shit that usually ends up in the Grammys.
Yeah.
And so often I'll scan through like the Grammys and I'll be like, I've never heard of any of these people.
SoundCloud, yeah.
You know, I have
Fucking
no clue who some of these folks are. In part because I kind of checked out right around the time grunge came in. I just punched out. I didn't care for grunge. I just really didn't care for it. And I didn't care for a lot of the pop music, the Christina Aguilera's, the
oh yeah, I
Jennifer
checked out
what
around
the
that.
fuck. You know, I mean, they irritate me. I don't know why they irritate me, except I wasn't finding anything lyrically.
Because they sing pablum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't finding anything lyrically that was interesting.
Well, hold on. So we all have our like drop off points, but I think the moment that the internet hit, and then a little bit of time after to get to where it like expanded enough to where anybody can start getting it easily. Because I mean, obviously you get the early adapters who are like, you know, like hacking and going on LimeWire and and Napster and finding all this shit, you know. But all of a sudden, you know, everybody can just find it easy, and I think that's where we started getting into like, well, yeah, why are you pushing this music? Who is listening to it? Because I'm sure as shit not. You know, personally, I'm sitting there. I find a lot of nice big band videos on YouTube, and I'm sitting there.
Yeah,
like, that's what I'm listening to. So I don't know what the fuck.
Like, yeah, so, it's kind of nice to go back and go, hey, this Tommy Dorsey knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
you know. But that is a nice thing though, because you can sample a lot of genre via YouTube that would have been extremely difficult back in the day of hard copy LPs.
Hey, you know, but at the opposite end, I was able to. I found an old SD card with a bunch of old MP3s. Sorry. Yes, I used to be a pirate. Yo ho. But I was finding all these old punk songs, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh shit! So I loaded them on my on my USB, and I was playing it through my car while I was driving to work. And I'm like, dude, yeah, it is some good ass shit, you know. Like old Mad Caddies and No Use for a Name and shit. Like it's just I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, this is what I used to listen to, but this is where I dropped off. And you know what? That stuff wasn't like mainstream type of stuff. That, you know, like a lot of it was independent labels until it did, and you could see the change, especially with like punk. You know, they changed when all of a sudden they went like all black and white. You know, massive tattoos and Skellamans, and it's like, dude, what the fuck? You know, before everybody was just like, yeah.
Spudgun asked Mr. Adam, do you like prog rock?
Spudgun, what is prog rock?
Progressive rock is it's one of those categories, Adam, that all right, let's take a crack at this, shall we, Skep? It's rock, but it's samples from other genre. In that,
kind of like DJ.
Jethro Tull would be a good example. Rush.
Rush is a perfect example.
Led Zeppelin to some extent.
Hold on, wait, are you serious?
Yeah, these guys were.
Yes.
They were sampling jazz. They were sampling folk. They were sampling.
Yes, the group. I'm sorry.
Yes, the group. Yeah.
No, but who?
Who? Oh my God. We're going to
No,
do
not
the
the Who.
Slappy and Skippy again. No, man, no.
Not who. Where?
Not who.
When?
No, the Guess Who. No,
Who,
they're
is
not
that
going to
why
be
they're
there.
taking so long to figure
Hold
out
on.
COVID because they started a band?
Yeah, that's it. The
I know
But-
the Who's.
okay,
Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
okay,
is
Spud Gun wants to argue with
Prague
me
Rock.
that
Uh-oh.
Led Zepp isn't Prague.
I was gonna say
It's
like,
not just experimental rock.
I thought. Okay, hold on. I thought prog rock is like it has a keyboard, type of thing. That's prog rock.
Oh well, but Tull stood on one foot and played the flute. Okay,
I don't know.
so
Okay, and a flute. There's.
I mean the
if it-
Okay,
instrumentation.
the actual technical
And there's a
definition. I'm just
dude
gonna,
with a
I'm going to
lute
read
over
you
there.
the definition. Prog rock is a style of rock music popular especially in the 1970s and characterized by classical influences, the use of keyboard instruments, and lengthy compositions. That's what that means. That's the generally except that's why I was talking about.
And that's
groups
really
like
narrow.
Yes and
Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
But it's
it
still a
gives you the-
narrow definition because Tull isn't a keyboard artist, per se. You get into what is and what isn't that
Characterized by classical influences.
Odd
It's
admix-
heavily characterized.
yeah, the odd admixture, because the thing with Tull, there's a lot of classical influence in his stuff.
Yeah, has any of them incorporated a hurdy-durdy? Hurdy-durdy?
A hurdy-gurdy?
Hurdy-durdy?
A
Yeah.
hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah.
Donovan Leitch did back in the day, but
Get out of
Yeah. There are all kinds of definitions of prog rock. Kansas gets tagged that way to some extent.
Kansas?
Well, they brought in strings. If you listen to
their
Doug-
albums, listen to their
Yeah.
albums.
Because
and
of
you'll hear
fiddles
prog rock.
and
No. I mean,
violas?
Not the musical.
it's not a fiddle. I mean, it's a violin and a viola,
Whoa.
and it is done in a chamber style. So it's
Too
that
much
is a
violins and music.
peculiar,
Pardo de
yeah.
moi.
It's a peculiar change. King Crimson's not keyboard, and they're considered prog rock. I mean,
Yeah,
Alan
they're-
Parsons' project.
Alan Parsons is genius rock.
No shit.
Sorry.
Yeah, kind of like
Personal-
Steely Dan
personal
genius
prejudice.
rock.
Well, yeah,
where,
that's
where you're like, oh my god, who are these people, and where do they come from?
the fun thing
but-
about Steely Dan is looking up what they had to do to make their music. There's some great stories. I leave it to the interested students to go check that out.
That and you never know who's playing on what. You basically have to look at the
Or who got
discography.
fired?
Yeah,
got-
I mean the rotating cast of characters through Steely Dan is amazing.
Thanks for stopping by, Mr. Clapton. That's not good enough. You're fired.
Really,
What?
I'm feeling particularly spurgy today, and you weren't,
Yeah,
I mean, that is a band basically driven by Asperger's. I'm convinced of it.
Hold on,
Yep.
but is that a prog rock band?
No, they are
No.
a jazz fusion band.
Yeah.
Jazz fusion pop. That's what they
Now, if any of us looked on our music, whatever we have, not our record players or CDs, but our
Playlist.
collection. Thank you. I know I'm looking at mine right now, and I think people would think I was a schizophrenic.
No, you're eclectic. There's a difference.
How many entries do you have on your playlist?
How many what?
How many entries? How many songs are there total on your playlist? Do you,
Well, I
you
have
do
4
it in a
different
YouTube
playlists.
playlist?
Can be
Pardon me?
played with the children, cannot be played with the children, and then just the stuff I love. And
Shit, the
it's
sequel.
about 2,000.
2,000 songs?
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's
Okay.
that right.
But
That's cool.
I love everything from the 20s Sweden to even things today, although looking at it, it looks like I barely entered the 21st century with my music. But can you blame me? But I have Meatloaf on here.
I'm just thinking
weird.
about it. I don't know if I have anything from the 21st century on my
I don't think I have anything from
I
the
don't
21st
think I
century,
have.
but I sure as hell have Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I do. I had to think about it for a minute.
Song.
I do too, Jenna.
You know that if I go and look at YouTube in the last couple of weeks, I find Alfred Burt's The Star Carol by the Hastings College Choir performance, Handel's Xerxes, the Kiffness. Then I come around to, holy crap, Arlo Guthrie's City of New Orleans.
Good girl. That's a great.
Sondheim.
I love that.
Sondheim. So it's like, what the hell? I mean, it's the same kind of thing, Jenna. You might think that I was schizophrenic based on what I was listening to, but it's just having an eclectic entrance.
Yeah, my soundtrack from the entire musical company follows 7 Pink Floyd anthems in my playlist. So you go from Terminal Frost to Bobby, 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 Baby, Bobby, Booby, Bobby. And the music company.
Yeah, it'll be.
Company.
I mean, it's.
And I actually like the one where Stephen Colbert is one of the principal supporting, one of the husbands, one of the 4 husbands. That he did a fine job, and he even can sing. I just wish he'd just stayed an actor.
Yeah, but it's. I never know what I might listen to because.
Sure.
I might just have a thought and go, it's been a while since I've heard Jose Carreras sing. And go dig up a tenor solo of his. Or I'll think, I haven't heard Reelin' in the Years in, probably 6 months. I want to go listen to that.
Yep.
Or what the hell, I'm a Believer because it's Neil Diamond and he needs royalty money. It's. I grew up listening to the music of my parents primarily. Yeah. So, I mean, when Adam mentioned big band, I was like, well, who? I mean, are you talking either the Dorseys, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller? Are you talking a little bit later, like the Louis Primas?
I don't know. Well, not too late.
You know what my mother's idea of big band music was?
Hold on.
The Berlin Philharmonic.
Yeah.
I like them Boston Pops.
Hey, what's wrong with the Boston Pops?
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's in Boston.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong with the Pops.
It's in Boston where it snows.
Keith is
I don't know where I can park my car.
I got to see Fiedler, so look, I consider myself blessed. But Leroy Anderson's Playbook, if it weren't for the Boston Pops, man, how many of us would know any of it? Not that any of us listening outside of Skep and Harry probably are familiar with Leroy Anderson.
Right. Or Arthur Fiedler.
But the that's the kind of stuff I heard as a kid. Percy Faith and his orchestra, Summer Place, I mean, whatever was on pop radio, that my parents listened to, which was still a lot, particularly in the 60s, early 60s, of singers. Not so much big band, but what you would call easy listening.
Yeah.
The Engelbert Humperdinks, but it was funny because there began to be overlap. My father loved Son of a Preacher Man. He loved the games people play. So he was listening to stuff.
Joe South's version.
Yeah. As it, as things moved on pop radio more into my generation's music.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I asked for the album of Jesus Christ Superstar one year for Christmas. And I got it. And then one request out of my parents was, please do not play this when your grandfather's in the house. And I was like, all right. That's
How about
good.
you, Harry?
Well, I have a visual aid for you. Can you embiggen me here?
Yay.
Oh, yay.
I'm not paying attention to the
So a little bit about the marketing of music. Now, that's too bad. It doesn't fit. Oh no. But this is actually a vintage ad for Philips. And you can see a man and his lovely wife dancing the night away, because you see the owls, that's how and the moon, that's how it's night. And this was sort of the fantasy, the thing where you could go to a show, but you could go home and you could enjoy something like this. So it wasn't just about the music that they tried to tell you were supposed to like, but it was about the fantasy surrounding all of it.
So it was no different from Wet Ass Pussy.
Oh yeah, it's no different from that delicious WAP. But here's another thing. Hopefully you can see this.
Someone signed by that.
Unfortunately, I need to find a way to resize this here. But this is basically a thing that's sent out by a record company promoting a song. So what you see here is this is for the song Phenomena, which was a big hit like in 69.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Muppets.
So
Yeah, really.
the way that something like this got pushed is they would basically hire the band to make the music. The band would get a cut. The performers would get a cut. The people who made the records would get a cut. The distributors would get a cut. The agents would get a cut. The guy who had the record store would get a cut. Everybody got a piece of the action. But a lot of the money that used to be in records was in this kind of thing. There wasn't a freaking internet. How did you basically get Johnny Fever on WKRP to play a particular song? Well, you would send them the album and you would send them a thing like this saying, hey, all the cool kids are listening to Phenomena. So
yes.
And this is how the record industry worked. There were people that were in the know, they had distributions, they would literally put this in an envelope and mail it to people.
Pay for play too.
Yeah, and pay for play. They would pay money to radio
payola,
stations
they
to
called
pay to play a particular thing. And then it would go out on the radio, and then you would go to a store where they would sell you a record or a cassette tape or an 8-track tape.
FYI.
Yes.
No, that's the name of the music store.
Oh,
sure. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is how the record industry worked. Now, if you look at historically speaking, everybody wanted to get their cut, and you would think that it was the musician that was making all the money. No. Most of the cost of an album that you would buy was actually in the distribution. Getting it from the people who actually pressed the record to the store where they would sell it. Because of course, anything that didn't get sold by the store got a little notch put in the case or a little mark put on it, basically, and they would return it for credit. Right. So the distributor had a certain amount of risk in this stuff. The record store often didn't have to pay for stuff that wasn't sold. And I actually did a deal with a big record company in the 90s. And as part of this deal, they would just send me boxes and boxes and boxes full of CDs with notched corners, basically things that had been returned. And some of the collections that they had put together with, stuff like Louis Prima, and things like that, and was really fantastic. I got to experience a lot more music than I would have otherwise, because I basically was getting CDs for free. They would just send me a box with like 50 CDs in it. It was insane.
So how would you decide whether or not you wanted to listen to? You couldn't listen to all that music, did you? Or did you?
No, I didn't listen to all of that music. It's basically, it would have to look promising. Part of it's the the description of it and the cover art's the first thing to get your eye. Did you ever see the movie Xanadu?
No, I skipped that one.
Does anybody seen that movie other than me? Damn it. Okay.
Is that the one with the roller skates?
Yes. Thank God. Thank you, Adam. So the guy who was our protagonist in this stupid movie, which had a bunch of big band music in it, was terrible actor.
Did that have a Canadian singer in it?
No, it had Olivia Newton-John. She's Australian.
Olivia Newton-John. Oh,
yeah.
That's what,
Yeah.
You know
But this
what?
guy's job.
I just forgot it.
Yeah, this guy's job in the movie.
At least I found a connection there, sir.
Was basically he was a painter, and he would basically paint big versions of album covers so that they could hang them up in the record stores. It used to be super low tech. I mean, this was like shit that people did. Just being a painter, being able to make a big copy of a record album. It was all quite the process. And remember, even Elvis at one point was nobody.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who that idiot was that some big record producer passed up on Elvis because he thought he wasn't going to go anywhere. Can you imagine being the guy that decided not to sign Elvis?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, this has something to do with that, but not the people that passed on the Ring doorbell.
Mm-hmm.
They feel the same way.
Yeah,
I think passing up on
the
Elvis
Red Sox.
Yeah.
Or the Red Sox.
Yeah, culturally speaking,
Who would turn their back on the Red Sox?
the Elvis thing is kind of interesting.
The Red Sox turned their back on Babe Ruth.
Yeah, initially people did not want Elvis. They didn't understand what they were listening to, and they didn't understand what they were looking at. And so, when people would start playing stuff like this on like bandstand kind of shows where live from this barn somewhere in the middle of the Midwest, we're going to have a bunch of teenagers dancing and it'll be like TV dance party. That was how people got turned on to music. And then the money came when people would actually buy stuff. It was all basically designed to get people to buy 45s. The first music I ever paid money for was just terrible. And it was mostly because this is what my friends were listening to. So a lot of what people listen to really is kind of a social construct sort of thing.
Well, I think,
and then there's stuff that stands the test of hundreds of years, which I think probably, if it was just a social construct, people would have stopped listening a long time ago. So, to my mind, there's music that's very transient, that really reflects the mood of a time, and then there's music that's kind of a little more durable, that maybe has a different kind of thing going behind it to make it
music
good.
For a time and music for all time is one of my teachers used to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think that Beethoven will outlast Wet Ass Pussy
by a bit,
or Three Little Fishies. Novelty songs like that.
Yeah.
Or Phenomena.
Or Hippopotamus for Christmas. Yeah.
I don't know about that one though, man. Betty White, legend. Her singing it. Betty White singing "I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas" on Craig Ferguson, legend.
My Joey loves that song.
Yeah.
And she sings it every single day in December.
I think you can stop showing my screen now. Unless you want to show this to Adam.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun,
Speaking of music,
Yeah.
those cartoons with the classical music in it,
Oh my
was it
God! Yeah, the Flight of the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
was Rabbit of Seville, of course, Tilda Wabbit. I can't remember what this one was called, but
this is,
to get
This was the flight. It was the
The Ride of the Valkyries is,
Yeah.
I always explain that to people. It's the Kill the Wabbit song.
Mhm.
Kill the Wabbit, kill the Wabbit.
they do a live orchestral play of it.
Yep.
This and the Barbara Seville. Man, I'd love to see that.
Well, they do them at like the Hollywood Bowl and a bunch of other places.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Well,
absolutely amazing. The Nickelodeon cartoon Hey Arnold did a version of Carmen that was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fucking hilarious. I mean, it's one of those things. I went through a phase of watching Nickelodeon because the news was so depressing that it was like, nope, watching Nick. So I'm watching Rugrats and Hey Arnold, and they do this Carmen spoof, and I almost laughed myself sick. It's like watching the cartoon The Tick, the original when it came out. There was a character in it whose name was Deflator Mouse. DEFLATOR.
Yes.
I'm howling. Cree's looking at me like, what is the matter with you? And I'm like, deflate a mouse. Deflate a mouse.
Deflate a mouse.
It's a bat. I said it's an operetta. It'll be fine. Just ignore me. But,
having a happy moment with myself.
Yeah, I was having a happy classical reference moment, and it's absolutely astonishing, how Warner Brothers used to drop those little sound bombs in that.
It's interesting. You talk about classical music, and I made a point, I guess, about it has staying power. There's a lot of classical music that is music for all time. But does anybody remember the court composer who Mozart effectively deposed? What was his name? Salieri or
Salieri, yeah.
F. Murray Abraham is so funny in that movie.
No, it was Salieri. Yeah, I'm actually
and
familiar with some of his music, but
that's a guy who wrote a lot of complicated,
yes,
boring, and that was Mozart's critique on it. Classical music.
Yeah, kind of a concertina, a little bit of a concertina writer, he wrote some decent stuff. It's just up against.
Mozart was about taking chances and
too many notes. Yeah,
there's a lot of notes in Mozart.
Incredibly complicated, incredibly complex stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's just Mozart lived in a
why have a
separate
sustained
realm.
chord? Why have a sustained chord when 28 rippling notes will do?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's you compare Mozart and Haydn.
Yeah, right.
And
Haydn was all about economy and efficiency. He's an amazing composer. That's a fascinating story.
He absolutely was, in his own right, an outstanding composer. But the competition was stiff at the time, and unfortunately, the Big M gets most of the attention. And it's
very interesting you would call out Haydn, because Haydn was one of my mother's favorite composers, and she a lot of her repertoire was Haydn.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of and she learned all his hard stuff because she thought that's where there was some just music like no other.
Yeah, technically he was pretty impressive. And it's interesting because like Handel is known for his oratorio. But Haydn,
you might want to explain what oratorio is.
Well, it's singy storytelling.
it's
Handel's
telling a story,
Messiah
right?
is an oratorio. The Haydn's Die Schöpfung, the creation, is a
Very familiar
really
with it.
is a marvelous piece. I sang it with symphony chorus, and it was a delight to learn it. Haydn's very orderly, so learning Haydn from a singer's perspective is relatively easy.
Yeah,
You know.
learning the keyboard piece is a different story.
Oh God, yes.
My goodness, that's some of the most. Other than Rachmaninoff, I don't know anybody who wrote at
Schumann.
And Schumann was. I was just about to say Schumann is my mother's other favorite.
Yeah,
She was actually a little bit of an authority on Schumann, on the history of Schumann.
yeah. I mean, Schumann can create tendonitis in people.
Yeah.
He's that complex.
With Schumann, it was like everything is Rachmaninoff Fourth Symphony. You know, everything is just
complicated,
complex,
incredibly complicated.
Yep.
I actually watched somebody perform Schumann where they went up on their memorization and they faked it for 2 pages till they caught up with themselves. I had the score in front of me, and I was so impressed with the person's technical skill that they were able to spoof Schumann in a performance of Schumann.
Yeah,
because it's
not like spoofing Britney Spears.
Well, it's just knowing the florid nature.
Yeah.
Of the chords. And how they wove together.
So that's long lasting music, right?
Yeah.
There. And what was the equivalent of rock and roll music, do you think, back in the 1700s?
Madrigals, maybe.
Some
light opera,
operetta. That
but there were also just wandering musicians who wandered from town to town and put on a show.
Well,
yeah, I would say probably like wandering bards.
And when they played too much, they suffered from terrible minstrel cramps.
But the whole Minnesinger, Meistersinger tradition that made its way into French with Troubadour Trouvère, that whole bardic, itinerant wandering musician
tradition,
is, and I mean, if you think of it, a lot of madrigals are kind of born of that same sound. They're a little churchier in their construct, a little more formal. You know, you wouldn't accuse Monteverdi of being slapdash. But,
and going back to what we were talking about in terms of the timeline of music and how we find it, and how people are, coming in contact with it. Like, this would be an area where we would be able to experience what a wandering bard punk type of music would sound like. I've heard some of these bands where it's just a group of people. One of them has a hurdy-gurdy, one of them has a fucking flute, one of them has a guitar, and they just, go to town.
They jam.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, yeah, that's exactly, you're sitting at a fucking pub, and these dudes just pop up and
yes.
Madrigal is a lot different from that, though, Adam. Madrigal is like a part song that, from the Renaissance period is typically around
madrigals. He was in.
I know. I was talking about a punk type of band.
Oh, okay. Because didn't have madrigals? They didn't even have instruments, did they?
No,
they were all a cappella.
Yeah, but they might have had some loop players around.
Yeah, there may have
Maybe
been
some
somebody to,
auto-tune.
to
They
set
had
up
auto-tune back in the 14th
to set up.
century,
Well, there'd
right?
be somebody to set a pitch and
Yeah.
a rhythm. I mean, you have the same in Appalachian shape note hymns and shape note music, where you basically have somebody who will provide the pitch and keep the beat.
Mm-hmm.
But folk music, the troubadour, trouvère, bardic tradition. I mean, that's folk music, and there's still a very, very strong folk music culture in the United States. It's it's more of a regional thing. If there's a genre that lifted some of it, it would be country. Lifted a fair bit of it. A lot of it is what we would call standard 4-part hymn setting.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds, very, very standard harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the kind of thing, like, I remember when Brad Paisley was doing the music video for Waiting on a Woman. Andy Griffith was in it, in the video. And there's an outtake from when they were filming that of the two of them sitting there singing, "You get a line, I get a pull, honey. You get a line, I get a pull, babe," together. And I mean, that is folk music.
Yes.
That's just front porch, home entertainment, which is something that poor people have done for a very, very long period of time. When you don't have electricity, but you got yourself a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Now hold on. Do you think this type of music lasts a bit longer than the Britney Spears?
Yes.
Or the,
oh yeah, very much so, because a lot of
definitely.
the Appalachian folk music is lifted directly from English, Irish, and Scot music. If you listen to a lot of the songs, have very similar tonal quality. A lot of them have the same chord progressions in them, melodic lines that are lifted straight from them. A lot of hymns come from that same thing. A lot of hymnals are full of folk music that was turned into sacred music.
Yeah.
Or that was the folk music of the people, were their hymns. So I've never studied folk music in depth. I mean, there's a whole program Appalachian State University used to have a degree in it, if I recall.
Is that right?
Yeah, because they have a
That's
hell
in
of a
South
repository.
Carolina, right?
North Carolina.
Hey!
North
Yeah.
Carolina. It's in Boone, North Carolina.
3 of my cousins went there.
But,
one of them was the captain of the track team, and that is a track school. That's a major track school.
Yeah, it's the Appalachians are just absolute amazing repositories of musical tradition.
Oh, yeah.
That, and you catch some of it bleeding into country, especially people who are like...
Well, guys like Pete Seeger pulled that Appalachian tradition stuff and just poured it directly into the songs that they wrote. Woody Guthrie.
Dolly Parton is from that part of the world.
Absolutely.
The Eastern Kentucky, East Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee. I like this song called Rocky Top.
Yeah.
Yeah, from I don't even know how it fucking goes, but man, I heard this song. That was some...
If I had
Tennessee.
If I had a voice, I could hum it for you, Adam, because that's one I know. But bluegrass music is tied strongly to folk.
I love it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's have been some absolutely amazing bluegrass musicians. Like, people will scoff at the banjo without recognizing how
Not in
difficult.
my presence.
No, I know, but without recognizing how damn difficult that instrument is to play.
Fucking
Oh yeah.
And to play well. I mean, Steve Martin is a hell of a good banjo player for somebody for somebody who will say he pretty much just gets by.
Well, he would say that, but he plays with professional banjo players.
Yes, he does.
So he's like at the, you know, he's a very talented guy. He can be about as good as he wants to put the time into, but he's good enough to jam with people who make their living playing the banjo. That is really impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean,
banjo kazoo.
Bluegrass is something a lot of people, aren't familiar with because they associate it with country, and they do so kind of at their own peril because it's very unique.
Well, I mean, hey, hate to do a three-peat, but I do come from Chicago.
Yeah.
And we go right back to bam. You know what? The surprising, wonderful explosion of the internet helps us find this stuff. This is what I'm saying. Like we should be promoting this type of musical expansion. You know, like, oh, dude, you should check this out. You should try this out, as opposed to like see, that's why like when they were bringing out the Grammys, I was like, dude, I have no idea who any of these people are. And then when you hear the music, it's like horrible. And it's like, yeah, but I'm hearing all this awesome stuff. We should promote this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, I mean, y'all need to look up Earl Scruggs.
Earl Scruggs.
Yeah, if you want to see a banjo player.
It's fair. I mean, in truth, see, this is an interesting thing. I kind of wanted to get into this too, because there's something I've noticed about playing things like guitar and banjo. When in 1965, when I was starting to learn the banjo, I've been playing the banjo for a long time. There were not many banjo players. I was probably the only person in my 2,000 person high school who played the banjo.
Mm-hmm.
And I also played the guitar. And the banjo was for fun. The guitar was for girls. I mean, that's basically the way I looked at it back then.
Yeah.
And there weren't that many people who played the guitar even. The guitar was weird and interesting. If you had an interest in music, a bent toward music, you got shunted into band and they shoved a clarinet in your mouth or something. And so, I was always kind of on the periphery of that. And when the orchestras need for one thing, we put on Paint Your Wagon in my junior year in high school. And you have to have a banjo to put on Paint Your Wagon, or you're going to say goodbye to some very interesting stuff. Specifically, they call the Wind Mariah.
No.
And so the music teacher, the music director, came and said, I hear you play the banjo. Would you bring your banjo by? Would you be interested in being the pit orchestra? I said, yeah, sure. I played banjo for him. He said, you're it. And I thought, wow, I must be a lot better than the other people who auditioned for him. I said, well, did anybody else from the school play for you? And he said, no, you're the only one we could find. So there was kind of an aspect of that. Nowadays, everybody and his brother plays the banjo, the guitar, the mandolin, and they play it extremely well because there is a much bigger, there are much more efficient and easy ways to get good. The way that we learned songs was to listen to the radio and then try and figure out what the guitarist was doing. We would sit there and just painstakingly plot it out and then write it into tablature or something. We didn't even use notes. None of us could read music. write it into tablature and trade the tab sheets back and forth, between each other to learn new songs. And some of those were hilariously wrong, but it was an interesting time, but it's a very frustrating time. Nowadays, like I wanted to learn a song the other day that I just had never bothered to learn to play the lead to. Money for Nothing, Chicks for Free by Dire Straits. I had that thing learned in 15 minutes. I mean, I was playing it with Mark Knopfler. I was jamming with him and note for noting with him within 15 minutes.
Yeah, because you could pull down.
Because I called up a thing on YouTube and says,
pull down the charts.
It's an easy song. Play it like this. And he shows you exactly what to do through all the parts of the song. I mean, it really did not take me 15 minutes. Really, truly did not. If I had something like that, I probably would have done that. I would have tried to do that for a living. I would have tried to amass it just a supreme repertoire and go that way. But I didn't have the patience to sit there and, piece together the songs.
Suss out everything.
Try and write my own and, all the other things. Plus the fact that it just looked like it was hard as hell to get into. And I had this talent for math. And I thought, that might be better at putting groceries on the table. But man, there's nothing I would rather do. And this is the truth. I even like playing music better than I like skydiving. There's nothing I'd rather do than have a guitar or banjo in my hand and just sit and play with other people.
It's so immersive and it is so transportive. There's just something, it's not otherworldly, but it takes you out of yourself. Music, I mean, for me, requires a certain level of concentration that involves emotion as well as thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's the feel of the music. There's the expressiveness of it. So it's a combination, right brain, left brain activity that is, I just find it absorptive. And I can't read when music is on very effectively. I can't. Back when I played the piano, I could not, if somebody asked me a question, I would have to answer them if I could.
I can't concentrate on anything but music when music.
Yeah, in the rhythm of the song.
Yeah. And I can drive when music's on. That's about the only activity I can do.
Because that's a totally different motor function. It's really weird. But and we have driving playlists because of that. Because they make the time go by. I used to love Boston's eponymous album as a driving album.
So it was more than a feeling?
Yeah, it was more than a feeling. Yes, it was. It is not just the time killer. It's the alertness that comes with it. And it's just it's something that back in the day when I sang ensemble music, God, I was happy. It was just such a pleasure to create as part of a group of people. Because there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. Where you're just hearing the harmony around you. And it's one of the greatest pleasures and privileges of my life. It was just to participate at the minimal level that I did in something that joyous.
There's something about singing music that. Go ahead, Jen. I was just rhapsodizing.
Oh,
Literally.
just gonna say how now I can't hold a tune to save my life, and I played the clarinet for 1 year. But my kids, because of their father, and I agree, and they start piano at 3. And you can see the ones that absolutely adore.
The ones that don't need
Yeah.
beatings to practice.
And, my mother-in-law is their music teacher because I try not to find people outside the house to help. But when they get to a certain age or when they ask, um, my boys either want to play guitar or drum, which I have no problem with the drum because unless I have a migraine, but because the sounds that you can tell when they're actually playing a song and it's not just let's beat on the drums.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat when, they'll say for their instrument for Christmas they'll want a drum. And the guitar is my husband and my older boys will have, I guess, what you would call jam sessions
Jam sessions.
in the weirdest places because we'll be somewhere and they'll just, if they have their guitars, it's welcome to the Jen's family band.
That
And
sounds
then
lovely.
I have the schools that requires my kids to be in some kind of choir.
Mm-hmm.
And
Choir
even the
is a
older ones
requirement?
seem to love it. What?
Choir is a requirement?
Yes.
I
Oh
like
my-
that school.
I like it, except I'm thinking about the
I know.
the inevitable
I know
tone deaf person in the group.
Well, no, you have to try out for it.
It's what the
Yeah.
tambourine's for.
Yeah, no kidding.
You try out
Yeah,
for
so
it.
play
and
the
if you're
tambourine.
There you
Go
go,
ahead,
Lindy
Jenna.
Eastman. It's okay.
The block and
Go
the
ahead, Jenna.
triangle.
Go ahead,
you know.
Jenna. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step
if
on
you're
you.
That was
tone
me.
deaf like I am, you don't have to get up there and be like, "Yay,
You're not tone deaf.
I'm tone deaf."
No, you're not.
How aren't I?
I can hear your voice. I've known tone deaf people. I've studied tone deafness. You're not tone deaf. You are not medically tone deaf. I promise you, you can hear differential frequencies and identify them. You may not appreciate it much. You may not be very good at it, but tone deaf people are really sad people. True medical tone deafness is sad.
Well,
They
those that
usually have a host of other problems.
mimic
I
it.
love music.
Those
I
that
just-
mimic it when they sing can be remarkable to have in an ensemble that you're conducting. Because you struggle to figure out where the hell to make them stand, so you can't keep hearing them.
And what's an unusual problem, but
yeah, poor Johnny One Note. Well, it was an all volunteer group as part of a class spirit thing, and this girl came out every year, and my God, oh my God, it was poor Johnny One Note. And bless her heart, she was enthusiastic. Fortunately, shy enough that she wasn't loud.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, she was tall, so I could shift her to the back and get some people who could sing in front of her, so that I could barely make out the drone that was going on. Because man, there is nothing more off-putting than that.
So they didn't know the secret of just standing there and mouthing
No.
peas, carrots, corn, peas,
No.
carrots, corn.
No, and I couldn't say anything to her because it was all volunteer. I just
Well, at least our heart was in the right place. But anyway, getting back to the. I'm sorry. I go ahead.
Let me just jump in real quick. First off, is that a thing? You could just mimic peas, carrots, and corn and get away with singing?
in a large enough group. Yep.
That's
And
cool.
most every song, it does seem like you're singing the words, although you're just saying peas, carrots, corn, peas, carrots, corn. How I got through my 12 years of school.
Unless it's in French, and then you've got a problem.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was gonna say I wish I knew that earlier. But
Yeah.
hey, unfortunately, unfortunately, I have to leave. But I do want to say thank you so much for inviting me on. Your
You're
show.
always invited on the show, Adam. I've told you that many times that you're always welcome on the show. Love having you on, man.
Well, it was a blast chatting with y'all.
Yeah.
Jenna, Prospe, Harry, and of course Mr. Skep. I wish you all the best.
Good night, Adam.
Good night, hon.
Good night, Adam.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Dream sweet.
So, Harry.
Yes, sir.
Have you got a background as a performer of music?
Yes.
Do you really?
Singing. When I was little, before my voice changed and bad things were... it became a bad idea to start singing for a while. But yeah, I did some singing, mostly classical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was, it's one of those things. I could have gotten back into it. But it's like, do I do math stuff or do I do singing stuff?
I feel you.
And kind of only have time to be good at one.
Yeah.
I can just see the little hairy Muppet having the finger point at him as he sings Once in Royal David City to open the Christmas.
I've sang in more than a few Christmas things. When I was little, I used to do a lot of that stuff. But I'd get tagged for solos on more than a few occasions. The largest number of people I've ever sang in front of was about 800. And I didn't shit myself, so that was good. That was very stressful. That was very stressful.
Yeah.
Because I was practicing this one thing, my grandfather would be helpful, and he'd occasionally stick his head in and feed me alternate lyrics that had like the same meter but were different words. And then just to sort of earwig me, and it's like, God damn it, stop that.
I so would have liked your grandfather.
Everybody liked my grandfather. My friends would show up and they would just start talking to him, and they'd be talking to him for like 2 hours. I would just like come out to get a drink or something, and suddenly I'd see my friends were there talking to my grandfather. And this happened all the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Did your grandfather sing any?
No, not really.
Because I was going to say that's a church choir thing. That is a big time church choir thing to earwig somebody on lyrics and absolutely fuck them up in performance.
That is utterly church choir. Yeah.
Well, he was a terrible practical joker.
Goddamn evil is what it is, because
Prospero, how old were you when you started singing in choir? I'm gonna guess you were a child when you started singing in choirs. Is that right?
7th grade was when it was first offered. As far as singing, legend had it that I, at 3, sang "Oh My Papa" for my grandparents.
But I mean, in terms of your serious singing in school, you did that from the 7th grade on, probably.
7th grade straight through graduation from college.
Difference is I stopped at 7th grade. I started when I was young.
Yeah.
And sang in school, and then was in a pretty hardcore chorus when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade. And then did the 7th grade thing, and it got very weird because all of a sudden everybody wanted to, the big thing for all the cool kids was like this sort of show choir horse shit, like they have on Glee,
Yeah.
rainbow suspenders and white pants. And it's like, oh, what the no. I mean, so that made the singing
Up with people. Crap,
that made the singing decision a lot easier. Math is looking good right now.
I was the banjo player for Washington D.C. Up with People, by the way, just so you know.
Sweet.
Yep.
Cool.
I sure was. That was a thing I did in high school. No
Do you want to
kidding.
know something wonderful that helps with music and adoption? Everywhere there's some kind of music.
Yeah.
I was going to
matter
say
where you're
musical
from.
adoptions. You make them go in a circle and a chair disappears each time.
No, music and babies really go well together.
Yes, they do.
I am a big proponent of getting kids in front of music, and also, and I found this. This may have saved the lives of my children. That I discovered that when they woke up at 2:00 in the morning, and I had to be up in 3 hours to go work 12 or 14 hours to put food on the table, that I could play music in the background and they went to sleep 10 times faster. Now, it could be because their mother is very musical also. It could be, and both of them are very musical, that they had an affinity for, hearing musical tones and it relaxed them or whatever. But that changed life. That changed my life in a lot of ways. When we discovered that music was the way to get my firstborn Michael to sleep twice as fast as normal.
My dad would sing to me. They had a song that used my name. He changed the lyrics. It was the Merry Widow Waltz that I can remember.
What rhymes with Prospero?
Yeah, I know. It was my first name, darling. We love you. That kind of nonsense. But I can remember that from, I would have had to have been at most 3. And then before I was 6, Daddy got a Magnus chord organ. Those little things that were mainly color coded. But I can remember if there was somebody had a piano in their house, I wanted to go plink on it and pick out tunes. Because the radio was on, the record player was going all the time in my childhood. And so it was just part and parcel of my being. I started taking piano lessons in 5th grade. I tried the flute and that didn't go so well. And that was just a lovely avenue to be able to play what, you could buy any kind of pop sheet music.
Did you hate the flute?
Yes, with a passion.
Interesting.
It was breath control and things like that, which is peculiar, isn't it? Since if there was,
since that seems like something you would be really good at.
If there was any instrument I came close to mastering, it was my voice.
It was the first instrument of humans.
Yeah, and I mean the interesting thing is of course I got notched soprano all the way through high school, and I try out for my college choir, and I go and I'm looking through all the sopranos and then the second sopranos, and there's not my name, and I'm thinking, oh dear, I haven't made it. I thought I was decent, and then I start reading into the altos, and then I see my name under second alto.
Aha. There you were.
Yeah, and there I was. Hell of a sea change, because I was used to singing melody. I was not used to singing harmony.
Yeah.
And the advantage is I played the piano, so I could take the music and I could memorize it until I taught myself intervals. And I did. I just sat at the fucking piano and taught myself.
You just learned yourself intervals, really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. You just do it over and over and over and over until you begin to feel it. There were still some that required a lot of tonal concentration, like what our choir director called the sunset seventh, which is the C to B flat interval.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just saw Check Your Logic's comment. Harry's voice changed?
A little bit.
Cool.
Not enough.
I remember.
As long as I'm going through chat, let me just answer one that was back here. Where was it? Minions of the Zoo. Why would you jump out of a perfectly functional airplane? Because I can. Because it's fun. High-speed vertical flight is fun. Jumping out of an airplane at 12,000 feet and rocketing toward the ground for 70 seconds, falling over 2 miles, is just ripping good fun. You really do feel like you're flying, since you are. And it's great fun. I actually had one jump in a wingsuit. You see these guys flying through notches in mountains and stuff, flying, typically around mountains. They get on these wingsuits and they fly very close to the ground. Half of them are dead. But anyway, I got to try one of those out one time just in a standard skydive. And it's amazing how much forward movement it is. It really does feel like flying. So if you think you'd like to fly without an airplane, you can do so by jumping out of that perfectly good airplane. So that's my standard answer to people who ask me why I would jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Because
longest 8 months of my life when that training came up. But he'll jump with you.
Yeah. So I think it was Czech who made the smartass remark about my voice, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Before my voice changed, I could actually sing the male street vendor part from Oliver.
Oh wow.
Is it ground ivy, a cure for the toothache and a drop for the eye? I could actually hit those notes. Wow. Not so much anymore.
My daughter, Kaylin.
And it's time to change. You've got to rearrange for that horrible Brady Bunch episode.
Oh, nope. Now I have that song in my head.
You're welcome.
Joel McLaughlin mentioned something that I think deserves note.
What's that?
The favorite song they played, we played in jazz band was Peter Gunn. The legendary Henry Mancini.
I love that.
That is an awesome piece of music. The music that Mancini wrote for Peter Gunn, the Brothers Go to Mothers, and the main theme from Peter Gunn are two just really special pieces of music. Mancini was incredibly gifted.
Well, Pink Panther, the theme to Hatari was also quite good.
Oh yeah, Baby Elephant
He had a lot of really good stuff, Henry Mancini. But
yes,
actually, even the theme to Mr. Lucky is pretty good. And Mr. Lucky Goes Latin is kind of a fun album because it's just sort of a Latin accented Mr. Lucky.
Version of Mr. Lucky, yeah. I love the theme for Mr. Lucky. That Peter Gunn theme is
iconic.
It really is. And it's funny because if you familiar with the TV show, I can't hear the music without picturing Craig Stevens. But the
Craig Stevens, I forgot his name. There was a video game stand-up console from the earlier days called Spy Hunter, which in the theme music to it while you're playing is the theme from Peter Gunn, but like 8-bit.
Oh,
and
wow.
So that's another association I have with that particular tune.
Before we move too far away from Henry Mancini, I just wanted to say a very interesting thing. interesting thing in Mancini's background. He enlisted in the Air Force when he was 18 in 1943. He wanted to go and serve in the war. Glenn Miller,
oh God,
noticed him and assigned him. Glenn Miller was an Air Force officer.
Yes.
Assigned him to the 28th Air Force Band, and then Mancini wangled a reassignment so that he could get with the 1306th Engineers Brigade in France in the middle of the fighting. And in 1945, he actually helped liberate the Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria.
And ironically, it was less dangerous, it turns out.
yes, because Glenn Miller was at the bottom of the English Channel.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, well, yeah.
He did a Henry Blake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's God. That still hurts, and I wasn't even alive when it happened.
Just
It's just one of those things that, oh shit, because Miller was incredible and his orchestra was amazing.
Well, that's actually a whole different topic, which are musicians that got knocked down early and
Yeah.
thinking about all the stuff that they could have done, like
Wait,
Gershwin.
musicians dying early? Or
Well, George Gershwin comes to mind for me.
Yes,
Talk about untapped potential. He didn't,
Mozart?
well,
Mozart.
Gershwin did a lot of pop stuff and then show tunes, and then he
Rhapsody
really
and
died
Calypso.
before he had a chance to do too much of the serious stuff.
Yeah, and
But his piano preludes are excellent.
Yep.
Very, very
I
good
agree.
stuff.
I think he was a stone genius. I think he was a genius on a level with somebody like Rachmaninoff
Mhm.
Mhm.
or Schumann.
before we
I'd
get
even go
in-
Mozart.
Yeah. Mozart's actually overrated in my opinion. He was
Well,
kind of a showboat.
I agree.
He was
I think
brilliant. He was brilliant.
a lot of Mozart is. I think he was extremely prolific, but I think that most of his stuff was kind of filler and incidental
Yes.
in my mind. I really think his good stuff really stands out, but a lot of his stuff is just filler.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ciao.
Rondo
I would
a la
agree.
Turk is pretty amazing, but Blue Rondo a la Turk is even more amazing. Just saying.
What
Yeah.
you're saying? Turkish rondo was what?
I said Rondo a la Turk is amazing, but
Turkish
Blue Rondo, Turkish Rondo.
Yeah.
Blue Rondo is pretty awesome too.
That's Dave Brubeck for
That's
anybody.
Brubeck's. That's
Yeah.
Brubeck's spin on Rondo a la
On
Turk.
Turkish rondo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with its fun little timing tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Turkish rondo was one of my mother's favorite things, and it was her warm-up piece.
Yeah.
When she'd sit down to practice, she would rip through Turkish rondo. And it's the dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, but Brubeck's take on that is pretty impressive. That's one of those cases of you've got the original and you've got the spin on it, and you can juxtapose them and let people listen to the meter shifts and the to see just what Brubeck was all about. Speaking of people who wrote interesting music, Take 5 is another thing
I love that.
I love that piece. I don't know how many times I've heard it, and I don't tire of it. I mean,
I don't
wouldn't
even think it's the best piece on that album.
no, but it still is one of those things. I got to see Pete Fountain play it in New Orleans, and that was a treat. Just one of those little incidental experiences in life where you're like, ooh, this is nice.
Well, music is tricky. I started, like I said, friends would come over, and sometimes they just wouldn't leave. So I started grabbing albums from my grandparents' record collection. Don Ho was good.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? John Denver, also
Mhm.
very good. And I would throw Mel Torme on. The problem was I started unironically
Velvet
liking Mel
Fog.
Torme.
Yeah.
So I started listening to like Mel Torme and George Shearing, and totally unlike anything else that any of my friends were listening to. I think if people are honest with themselves, they might find that they like a lot of things that they wouldn't think they like a lot more, and they might find that they really don't like some things they think they like nearly as much as they do. There's a ton of music that I used to listen to 20 years ago that I wouldn't touch now.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example of something you used to listen to that you would not touch now.
I think it was probably because I had friends and stuff around. So, they'd listen to stuff like Sean Colvin, for instance, or Nancy Griffiths or whatever. And I just don't listen to that as, outside of being with friends and listening to music, I can't see any reason to listen to that stuff.
Sean Colvin, I actively don't like, but and Nancy Griffiths is just so boring. It's boring, not interesting.
But I still like Alison Krauss and Union Station.
Wow,
I like Union Station quite a bit.
Alison Krauss is pretty goddamn amazing.
Yeah,
she's a big talent.
Yeah,
well, she's like a big talent in a genre that I don't really like, but she's so good that I like it.
Right.
Yeah, but she can cross genre too, which is impressive.
Listen to her sing. There's a duet she does. It's not The Boxer. I can't think of what it is, but she does it with Sean Colvin, and the difference between those two singers is never more apparent. And I believe I'm going to find this recording so you guys won't think I'm crazy or think I'm crazy because of this. And at any rate, they make it through the song, and by the end of the song, Sean Colvin is glaring at the rest of the musicians, just staring daggers at everybody else because she has just been completely outclassed, and you can just hear somebody, she just got outsung completely on this thing. It's I wish I could remember the name of the song.
If you want to hear a pretty Christmas piece of music, Alison Krauss and Yo-Yo Ma doing the Wexford Carol.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Is exquisite. I can drop the link in chat.
Would you do that, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
It is. It's a perfect vehicle for her voice. She's got one of those voices that's, I don't know, it struck me when I first heard it kind of the way Emmylou Harris's did, where there is a clarity to her singing that is just unique. God damn, this mouse just doesn't want to behave.
Stupid mouse.
You're not kidding, man.
Computers were a mistake.
So can I?
Mice were the mistake. I would think that would be you'd be comfortable with that concept, Harry. That mice were a mistake.
Just give me one big Emacs window on a 20-inch monitor. I'm all set.
I just dropped
Emacs.
I dropped the link in the YouTube chat, but I also dropped it in our side chat.
And Jen's DM.
Oh, and Jen's DM.
Oh, you know what? It is the Boxers. Sean Colvin and Alison Krauss singing The Boxer.
Oh my God, that's not a happy thought, by the way.
It's a really interesting. I don't necessarily even recommend this, but it's interesting because Sean Colvin just basically gets outclassed in this performance, and where she really gets mad is when Alison Krauss starts playing the violin. just like fuck you.
Don't you mean the fiddle?
Yeah, the fiddle.
Yeah,
actually,
I heard it depends as long as
double
stick
threat.
If it's the fiddle or if it's the violin.
Pardon me.
Nothing.
Okay, what did you say, Prospero?
I had said she's a double threat in that regard.
Yeah, Sean Colvin is a guitar player, but she's just a strummer. She's nothing, She's not. She's actually more than a strummer. She's got a little bit of finger style, and she can play with a flat
She's not
pick.
Paul Simon though, right?
Well, Paul Simon's not a terrific guitarist, but
No.
she's not Steve Vai or anything. She's not even Jerry Douglas. And Jerry Douglas plays on this, by the way. And
I've seen Jerry Douglas. Or I should say I've been dragged off to see Jerry Douglas. King of the Dobro.
He's king of the dobro, man. And
yeah.
There are not that many dobro
really
players.
Good concert. Yeah.
He's really good at it. And it's this this was the tribute to Paul Simon in 2007. Sean Colvin on guitar, Alison Krauss on violin, Jerry Douglas on dobro, and Steve Gadd is playing the drums. Steely Dan alum right there.
Yeah, the dobro is one of those instruments that is not widely known.
Well, it's just a guitar.
But outside of country music, because of the particular sound, it's just
it's just a guitar, but you hold it funny and you play it funnier.
But that's it.
Yeah, but I listen to tons of classical. Like I'm a huge fan of people like Hilary Hahn and Valentina Lazitsa, and
really?
I really do enjoy classical, but I also listen to a lot of jazz and other stuff. It just depends on my mood. And of course, I have my little subgenre of synthesizer, electronic classical stuff. I don't know. I've always enjoyed that. Oh, yeah.
I've switched on Bach. That's wonderful.
That was one of those albums that I borrowed. And because the parents would buy stuff and then they would never use it. They couldn't figure out how to use the stereo. So like, I'll take that. A little sand sewage tuner, no problem. Record player, I'll take that. Speakers. So I would do this. I would just like take things that people couldn't figure out how to use in my house. Olympus OM1 camera, I'll take that.
I believe
so I would just use all that stuff. Sorry, Jenna?
I was gonna say, I believe that's called, to a certain, when you hit a certain extent, grand larceny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it never left the house. It just sort of moved into my room.
I know.
But a lot of the classical stuff really works for me. If I had to study really hard and I was up late and I needed to motivate myself for like a test in high school, the thing I would do is I would put on soundtrack to Clockwork Orange, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement. And so I was not just getting Beethoven; I was getting synthesizer vocoder Beethoven. Just turn it up as loud as I could get away with it, just to try to get the adrenaline going to go do a good job on a test. But I actually had music that I would use for different sorts of moods. Like I can actually study with Baroque music playing if it's the right kind of Baroque music. But if somebody's singing and there's like words and stuff, you can't concentrate on math when people are talking to you.
You end up singing along. Exactly.
Yeah, it's totally the wrong thing. But if there's something that's like very Scarlatti-ish, something that's kind of pure harpsichord rhythm with a nice sort of
a Bach invention.
Yeah, something that's just very orderly, kind of makes your brain waves become orderly too. At least for me.
It's funny when you talk about classical, because as a kid, probably some of the I heard classical that had been transformed to pop. Because that happened.
I know.
A lot. But
sadly,
if you think about it, when you tuned into Huntley Brinkley, you heard Beethoven every night. Because it was the second movement of the ninth.
Oh yeah.
Bum 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 bum. It's the scherzo, and
is that the second movement of the ninth?
Yeah, I thought it was the first for some reason.
No, the first is the second and the fourth are the big ones that people really glom onto. Although weirdly, in the Fifth Symphony, everybody gloms into the first verse, and the rest of it's actually more interesting.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Well, actually, as he explores the that melodic line, it gets a lot more interesting past that opening fifth.
Prospero, what did William F. Buckley play on Firing Line?
Oh shit! I don't know.
Brandenburg Concertos.
Of the Brandenburg.
Yeah, it's Brandenburg Concerto number 5. That's the third that you're doing. You're doing the third, but he played the fifth.
Now I have the switched on Brandenburgs too. But when it comes to stuff like that, I'll either listen to the electronic stuff or I'll go straight to period instruments. I actually, with all due respect to Glenn Gould, I'm not a big fan of transcriptions. If I'm going to listen to Baroque music, I like it on period instruments because I'm just kind of anal that way.
Oh yeah, I'm very definitely that way.
I don't know. I find the harpsichord can be tiring.
I have a story I have to tell. I'm sorry, when you said harpsichord and tiring, let me tell you about the day that I moved a harpsichord into my parents' house so that the greatest harpsichord player in the world, Johnny Woods, could come over to the house and give a concert, one which was attended by one Van Cliburn, by the way. And let me tell you, harpsichords are really, really heavy.
Yes.
And a little gay musician, no matter how good a harpsichord player, can't pick up his side of the damn thing. You have to go over to the neighbor's house to get it out of the back of the pickup truck and get it assembled. Then you have to assemble the thing. It was really quite an operation. Mm-hmm. It took us all morning to get that thing put together for that evening's concert. Anyway, yes, harpsichords can be tiring. Please continue.
I think Assassin of the Grace comment is probably worth taking notice of. The one to Prospero.
I'm sorry.
I have a soundtrack for my writing, various scores and songs for movies and modern games. I have a set for each novel, and I play it while I work. Yeah. It's just about matching. It's just about matching the mood to the mood of what you're trying to write.
Yeah, I can't. My concentration goes completely to the music. I just can't. It's only, as Skep said, driving, or moving around the house doing things, like folding laundry or something like that.
Yeah, I can fold laundry. But, really mindless stuff, but anything that has takes to be a brain, no, I'm done.
No, I'm in the music.
I'm just like I'm not bright like Harry is, but I'm a little like Harry is in that I can't do math and listen to music. I have to have silence to do math. I really do.
Are there songs that you find make you want to drive like a maniac? Because I have a few of those.
Oh yeah.
There's songs where if you play it when you're in the car, you can just feel the foot start to weigh down on the accelerator.
Oh hell yeah!
It's like this complete disinhibition that occurs when certain music comes on.
I have way too many of those songs, Harry. Way too.
That was kind of the whole purpose of the driving tape.
I mean, even Radar Love, Tub Thumping. There's all kinds of. It doesn't make any sense either. They're all over the place.
Well, like for me, one of the first things, I got a tape that was made up by a friend of mine it was Fripp and Summers. It was Robert Fripp and Andy Summers from the Police. Mm-hmm. It's not a great thing, but it's got like this Robert Fripp, very methodical, complicated rhythm going on. And then it's got Andy Summers just kind of like wailing on the guitar over the top of it. And it's got a really fast pace to it with a lot of that sort of percussive element. And it really makes you want to drive like a complete idiot. I had to stop listening to it in the car. It was not good.
Okay, can I share my story now?
Please.
I've only been trying for a half hour.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
DM me.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
So this was back when we were talking about children of music and stuff. Prospero's heard the story. 2 years ago for Mother's Day, my daughter Lori recorded the song like my mother does. If you ever want to make someone cry like a newborn baby, how do I explain how it was the most
Touching, moving.
yeah, just she learned the song. She got James to take her to record it, and it was just the most. I'll never forget when it ended, and she said, "I hope you like it," and I was like, "I get it's gonna be my ringtone and my alarm tone and everything," and it was just. It just shows, it wasn't about anything except her going in and just singing her feelings out. And I don't think there's a greater gift you can give to somebody than, if you're able to sing, than Hallmark, Lori had them beat. And this is the girl that didn't say a word for the first few years she was here. And here she is belting out the song. It showed how much she's grown, and it just,
How much confidence she has.
yeah. And as you can tell, I thought I'd be able to get through the entire thing, but I still get choked up just thinking about that little girl.
Of course you do.
Recording her song. It even if it was to somebody, it was still so magical.
Yeah.
And it told me that she was safe.
Yeah.
Which, in my mama's heart, it made me feel James and I are doing right by this child.
Oh, Assassin of the Great Lakes, The Twilight Zone by Golden Earring. That's in my 600 song playlist, my favorites of all favorites. That's one of my 600 favorite songs, which it takes a lot to get into that group.
Break into
I
that.
love that.
What song is that?
The Twilight Zone by Golden Earring. Love that song. If you like Twilight Zone songs, there is a song called The Twilight Zone also, and The Twilight Zone, and it is by they did Route 66, a Manhattan Transfer. You should check that one out. That's a very interesting take on it that has some very interesting instrumentation in it.
Manhattan Transfer is an interesting group.
I've seen them live twice. It's another one of those things where it's a weird crowd, or at least it used to be. I guess enough of them have passed away, but I have this tendency of going to concerts where most people are older than me.
I can understand that.
For those of you who are wondering who Manhattan Transfer is, go to YouTube and look up Manhattan Transfer Route 66 and just play that. You'll recognize that, I think. But their song, The Twilight Zone, is really worth a listen. But at any rate, guys, we've been plugging away at this for 2 hours. Can you believe it? It's fun to talk about music for 2 hours.
It is.
Yeah, it's one of the easier things to talk about.
Yeah. Even if Adam does take me to the woodshed for introducing too many topics at the start, it's good.
Well, you're just trying to be complete.
I can learn too.
Let me define all the parameters. Let's draw a nice little boundary around this discussion.
I know,
but make it so big that it incorporates all of music.
I was trying to throw out ideas there, but I realize sometimes I can get carried away, and I need people like Adam to remind me that yes, you're in love with the sound of your voice. That doesn't hold for all of us. So let others talk. So
Adam has really interesting takes on things sometimes.
He does. He's an interesting guy. I loved having him on tonight. I hope he'll come back and be with us on another night. But that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank chat for coming in and listening to us, and thank my panel. We do this for all of us, really. We do it for chat. We do it for ourselves. It's great fun to get together and talk with you. It's great fun to hang with all of you. And let us know how we did. Let us know what you think about this. But for tonight, the now Wednesday here in Texas, but started on Tuesday, so it counts as the Tuesday show. The zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.